Suttons Bay Public School.
And what is your position there?
I'm the Great Start to Readiness teacher,
And how long have you been a teacher?
32 years.
And what is your educational background?
I have a teaching certification in elementary and a master's degree in early childhood education.
And are you familiar, well, where do you work?
Suttons Bay Public School.
And do you currently teach a class?
I do. I teach a 4-year-old preschool program.
And how many children are in your classroom?
This year we have 10 children.
Are you familiar with Uma Llewellyn?
I am.
And she also goes by the name Birdie. Is that, you're aware of that? How are you familiar with Birdie?
Birdie has been a student in my classroom since January of this year.
And what is the schedule for your classroom? Is it a full-time preschool program or part-time?
It is full-time Monday through Thursday,
And the times, what are those?
8:15 to 3:15.
And how has Birdie assimilated into your classroom?
She is assimilated very well. She's easygoing, very engaged, curious, bright child.
Did you have any concerns about her entering into the mix so late in the school year?
I always have concerns about a child who arrives late, yes.
And what were those concerns?
Just that we, already have established routines and children know the events of the day and the social dynamic has been set. And it's sometimes hard to integrate a new child into that.
Was that the case with Birdie?
That was not. Birdie is very social and adept at interactions with other children and adults.
And does she participate in class?
She does. She's very engaged and curious.
Do you have any concerns about her being able to benefit from your curriculum?
I do not.
Do you believe that she is benefiting from your curriculum?
I do.
Sorry, 1 second. I guess for the record, Ms. Nucala's screen dropped out.
Sorry, Ms. Johnson. Technological things.
She wouldn't be popping back on as Amanda Johnson, right? She would have
No, that's
changed
the
her
next.
name.
No, that's the next witness.
Okay. That person just popped on. Sometimes people use different screens if that happens, so. Yes.
Oh, okay. I can continue with this.
I agree. I just didn't,
Yeah.
it's up to
Yeah.
you. She's
Yeah.
represented by counsel and then that's up to you.
Ms. Johnson, in the interest of time, because I know we started late and I know you have people to teach, small people. Based upon your interactions with Birdie Uma Llewellyn since January, what does she enjoy? Have you noticed certain things that are specific to her?
She is a very creative child. She tends to go towards the arts, spends a lot of time at the art table. She really enjoys dramatic play, lots of dress up and make believe with friends.
Have you witnessed her bond with any of the other children and have friends?
I have. She's integrated, again, very well socially into the class.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I don't have any further questions.
Ms. Belden?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Ms. Johnson.
morning.
Question for you. When Birdie joined your classroom in January, did you get a copy of her record from her fall semester in Pasadena, California?
I did not.
Okay, did you ever talk to her teacher in Pasadena, California?
I did not.
Okay, so there was no kind of transfer where you had an opportunity to hear how she was doing in in her previous school for the fall.
That is correct.
Okay. So you would not be able to say whether she had a successful fall or not?
I would not.
No, but when she came to you, she seemed like a happy, ready to learn, engaged child.
She is an amazing child.
Wonderful. I have no further questions.
Any follow-up? Ms.?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. You're all set.
Thank you.
And we do have Ms. Nucall back.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Is there technological issues on that end? Is there?
There are never normally technological issues. I don't know what it is today. I'm sorry.
Okay. Your Honor, you did say that Amanda Johnson is in the waiting room. I
That's-
would like to put the procedural piece that we discussed on the record before we move forward. I don't believe Ms. Johnson, Amanda Johnson, is as limited as Sarah Johnson. I just wanted to get her back to her classroom.
Sure, and this is your opportunity to proceed.
Okay. I did have a conference with the court and Attorney Belden prior to coming on here, all of us together. And I was seeking clarification from a procedural standpoint as to what it is that the court is listening to today. What is it ruling on? What is the law of scaffolding that we are basically relying upon in order to present this case? And I wanted to make sure that I fully understood what it was. I had done a summary of the procedural history of this case, and I went over it with the judge, and I went over it with Attorney Belden. And I just wanted to clarify that based upon my understanding, and excuse that, that the judgment of divorce, which was dated in June 2022, we all understood that it was not entered at the final scheduled hearing on November 3rd, 2022. Attorney Belden was not part of this case at that time. It was Attorney Umulis. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood what that was. Judge Kromkowski then gave us, meaning our counsel for Ms. Nucalla, 14 days to file a motion to change custody or parenting time. We did that. We filed it on the 9th of November, and we were asking for, and we are asking for, primary custody of all 3 children and long distance parenting time for Mr. Llewellyn, unless he chooses to relocate back to Northern Michigan, in which case it would continue to be a 50-50. We analyzed the best interest factors under the Child Custody Act. That is what the law that we were relying upon. We briefed the issue of not needing to show proper cause or change of circumstance under the relevant law. Judge Kromkowski issued her order on the 17th of November, and she essentially reopened the child custody and parenting time issues and sent us to mediation, and then ultimately set this hearing this month and then next month. The court had specifically ordered that it had reconsidered the status of the case and concludes that it would be best if the outstanding child-related matters were resolved prior to entry of the judgment. She set aside Ms. Nucalla's waiver of the 6-month waiting period because the judgment of divorce was not supposed to be legally final until January. And it referred to the referee our motion and through typical channels and funneled that through the process pursuant to the 13th Circuit Court procedures. On December 5th, we filed a motion to amend child support and for amendment of temporary order to facilitate the parenting time based on the financial impossibility of doing it at that time. Judge Kromkowski referred that to the referee as well, and it's consolidated with this motion. Thereafter, Mr. Llewellyn on the 6th of December filed his response to our motion, and he asked for primary custody with long distance parenting time for Ms. Nucalla and included his best interest argument. There was some confusion with court administration with regard to whether or not there were any outstanding property issues in this divorce. And there are emails back and forth between court administration, myself, and Attorney Umulus. And I have copies of those on December 21st, which confirmed, Ms. Umulus confirmed that there are no property issues in this case. Those are all resolved. Nothing has been pursued. That is the final matter. And nothing that we are listening to today or need to present proofs on concerns property-related issues. We then attended mediation with Sarah Vinke regarding only custody and parenting time issues. No agreement was reached, but immediately or soon thereafter, the parties agreed to a new interim order that replaced the September temporary order. And that provided, and that's currently in effect, and that is what provides Ms. Nucala with the two youngest children primarily, and Josephine with Mr. Llewellyn primarily, and provides that Mr. Llewellyn needs to pay Josephine's tuition in California. So we now have a new interim order replacing the September order, and we have dueling motions for custody, essentially. Then on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, Ms. Belden had replaced Ms. Umulus and filed a motion to enforce contract with the court, essentially arguing that the judgment of divorce was a contract and needed to be enforced as a whole. It doesn't address child custody law, which I believe personally is what's at issue here. It's not a contract case. It's about children and people. But I never received a notice of hearing. I've never received any response from the court with regard to that motion. And I checked the docket sheet religiously because I didn't know what was going on with it. And I want to clarify that my office never got notice from the court that that motion would be heard by this referee in the context of these two other motions. So because of this somewhat unusual procedural posture of this case, I wanted to make sure that I understood, and I gave the court and the court record notice that I never received any sort of notice of hearing with regard to the motion to enforce contract. To my knowledge, there is none. And so that is not something I believe would be properly adjudicated before this court at this time. If it needs to be set for hearing, it should be set for hearing separately. Or it needs to be properly noticed because we would certainly file a response to it. In fact, I would file a motion to dismiss it, so on legal grounds. So I wanted to just go ahead and make my understanding clear of what it is that we are presenting proofs on. And my understanding is we are presenting proofs on the best interest of the child factors as set forth in the Child Custody Act. And I just wanted to make that 100% clear and get clarification as to whether the court acknowledges that the motion to enforce contract is not in play at this hearing and has not been set for hearing with the appropriate notice.
Okay, and I wanted to quickly interject and just state, I wanted to clarify that at the with the stipulated interim order that was signed by the parties in January 2023, I did want to point out paragraph 1 does state that the parties have reached an arrangement for the 2022-2023 school year. This agreement is temporary in nature and is without prejudice to either party's position or the court's final determination regarding custody, parenting time, school enrollment, or domicile or residence of the minor children. So based on that, and it says all other terms of the September order are still in effect. So I would like that to be reflected. I also want to stay, and I'll let Your Honor, speak as well, but when that March 17th motion to enforce the contract motion was filed, my understanding is we received a note from the court that they were not going to set this for a separate hearing, that it would be heard at this 4-day hearing.
But you agree, and we off the record, I went through the file and I agree with Ms. Whitman. There was no notice of hearing set for that issue today, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Golden?
I don't see a notice of hearing, but I think that there's an email from Josephine. I feel like there was something, and that's where I was going to go check with Lynn to confirm that, but there was something from Josephine stating that. Let me go back.
It seems likely that that was the intent, but I don't see a
Yeah.
notice of hearing or anything in the file. So on that, I think, and I guess I'll ask Ms. Whitman, part of this discussion relates to an objection you raised yesterday when I allowed property issues to be discussed. Is that correct? Somewhat, at least.
To a certain extent, it also was triggered by Attorney Belden's trajectory on Cross, which seemed to focus upon negotiations of what ultimately became a temporary order, because it has legally never become a final order.
Sure. And so I wanted to address that. So I thought I was somewhat clear when I ruled on your objection. It is absolutely true that I will not be deciding any property issues. So if I gave any uncertainty on that, that's my fault. What I thought I ruled on, and in my mind, this is what I was saying, is typically in a case, parties are not permitted to raise settlement discussions in a hearing because essentially it's between you all, and that's through the rules, Michigan rules of evidence. But there are some issues here with regard to what they've agreed to, what they have notice of, what they're talking about through all of these days and months of these proceedings that have become an issue in this case. And I believe that those have been raised specifically by defendant, what she's thinking, what they have notice of, what they did when they agreed to certain things, what was going on at that time is all relevant. And the other issue is, I think some of the way I interpret some of the property issues that Ms. Belden was saying, and she can correct me because I'm not speaking for her, or certainly not anyone but the court, but there is a challenge to the impossibility argument. And so some of that relates to, meaning they have challenged some of what she's saying as if this was impossible. And so they're going through some of why they believe it was not impossible for her to comply with that agreement. That's all I understand it as. It isn't me. I'm not going to, in my RRO, if and when we get there, you won't find me discussing property or anything like that, or who has what or anything. This is, I will only be focused on the minor's best interest. Absolutely. But I think rather than this being a unique procedural case, for me, there are some unique parts where these parties have gone through a lot to get here today. I would agree with both of them on that. But throughout those steps, I don't think anyone could argue that there's been a change in their thinking to where we are today. So, well, yeah, I mean, I saw you make a face, but at one point they agreed to go to California, and now we want to stay in Michigan, right? I mean, that's your client's position, right, Ms. Whitman? So I don't understand that. That seems to be a change to me. I don't know if that somehow you could argue that's consistent, but
No,
seems
it's
to be
a
a change.
change. It's
That's
certainly
all I'm saying is that's the only reason why I'm allowing it. And I still, your objection to that, to my evidentiary ruling is still on the record. You could absolutely pursue that with Judge Kromkowski. I understand. I'm just sort of relaying what I thought I said yesterday, which is I did not say I was going to be deciding any property issues, but that I was allowing certain settlement discussion issues on the record, because those issues have been raised in my opinion by both parties. So that's all I have to say about it.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. And I do appreciate the confirmation on the motion to enforce contract, because I never received anything from Josephine. It may have gone to, I don't know whether she used a different.
I just pulled the email up. Now I got to go back to it. It was from March 21st, but maybe she sent it to your other email, Melissa. You're on it with Bree, I believe.
If you're going to do a share screen on that, let's go off YouTube.
Okay.
But I don't know that you're doing that.
Oh, I don't need to do a share screen. I can just, let me find it here. Court received plaintiff's motion to enforce contract. It was sent to, let's see, now I got to see. It says Melissa Whitman. It was at Mish Law, Melissa, the Allward Fisher address. And then Brianne 3, and then myself and Lynn. It says defendant and plaintiffs have pending motions to modify child-related matters. These motions are scheduled before the referee for April 10, 11, May 12, and 22. The court has advised that plaintiff's motion to enforce contract shall not be scheduled due to the upcoming referee hearing dates. Have a nice day. So, you know, my understanding is that have a nice day adds a touch. I just wanted to include that. So it's, Your Honor, I'll let you talk to what that means. You know,
I don't know what that, I mean, I don't do the scheduling, so it's
Okay.
not really up to me. People, they send out notice of hearing and it appears on my docket, so.
okay.
If
Well, it
the
means what
question,
it means.
if the question is, would you like me to follow up? I will absolutely do that.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
But the confirmation from that email, it's interesting because Josephine always emails me at the other email address, but okay, so it is what it is. It shall not be scheduled, which of course means it's not scheduled and it's not during this hearing, it's not being heard.
Yeah, but I would argue that they're all intertwined in the sense that the contract is part of this analysis, and the agreement that the parties reached during this time is part of the analysis.
As it relates to child
Yes, as it
custody
relates
and
to the
parenting
child.
time, yeah,
That's
not
right.
as it.
That's right. That the parties' agreements, the parties' discussions with respect to the best interests of their children.
Certainly, I don't believe this is a contract case. This is a Child Custody Act case with the best interest factors being the governing law. But yes, in terms of the things that they communicated, presumably that are not privileged, that, you know, and confidential or disallowed pursuant to the evidentiary rules, as long as it pertains to one of the best interest factors, then it's fair game.
Absolutely.
Your Honor, did we have a witness?
Yeah, Amanda Johnson.
Okay.
So we're gonna bring that person in and not have Ms. Nucala back on the stand, correct?
If possible, I had advised
Mhm.
that we have a number of people lined up this morning, and we can hopefully resume with Ms. Nucala as needed, and then certainly when those folks are done, so we don't inconvenience them.
Perfectly fine with me. I'm gonna bring this person in then as your next witness.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, just to clarify to you,
Sorry, I can put her, but
oh, it's fine. I just would say the cross-examination isn't done yet, Andrew. That's going to happen in a little bit. It's just Miss Whitman had people lined up. I just wanted you to know it's not that, you know, we're done.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah, and for the parties, I guess I'm used to this. When we do our best, the attorneys do their best to schedule witnesses when on the witnesses schedule, and in between that time we try to take care of them because you're all here with us the whole time,
All day.
thankfully, and we bring you on and off in between witnesses until you're finished. All right, Ms. Johnson. Morning. You're on mute, ma'am.
Hi.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Matt Hagan. I'm the referee in this matter. You've been called as a witness by Ms. Whitman. She's going to ask you some questions, and then if she chooses to, Ms. Belden may have some questions for you, okay?
Yes.
You'd raise your right hand, please.
Mhm.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Ms. Whitman.
Ma'am, could you state your full name for the record?
Yes, my name's Amanda Campo Johnson.
And where do you live?
I live in Leland, Michigan.
And how long have you lived there?
I've lived here for 6 years.
And where did you live prior to living in Leland?
I lived in San Francisco for 14 years, and then I lived in Basel, Switzerland for 2.5 years. And from Basel, we moved to Leland.
Do you have any children, ma'am?
I do. I have my son, Nels, and he's 11, and my daughter, May, who is 8.
Are you familiar with Aishwarya Nukala?
Yes, I am.
And how do you know her?
She is a friend of mine that I met, I believe, a little over 2 years ago. I met her through my friend Maggie, who was showing her an office that she now leases, and we share that general space together.
And where is that space, ma'am?
That is also in Leland, and it's a loft space above the Harbor House, which is a prominent building in downtown Leland.
And what do you do for a living, Ms. Johnson?
I am a graphic designer, art director, and I work for myself and have 2 like part-time jobs.
And have you had an opportunity to interact with Ms. Nukala fairly regularly over the past 2 years?
Yes, I have.
And to clarify, you and she share office space, is that true? Or they're adjacent? It's adjacent?
Yeah, it's more of like it's a giant room, and then there are 3. There are, in the space that we rent, there are 3 separate smaller offices that are all closed off with a door so that you have privacy. Yes.
And how would you describe your relationship with Ms. Nukala?
We became sort of fast friends. We had a lot of things in common. We're both creative people. We both shared a lot of time in California at separate times of our lives. And we both have children, and being moms, and moving here, you know, we bonded very quickly over the move from California and to a very small town like Leland, Michigan, and those sort of ups and downs, and the change that comes with that, and how that feels. And yeah, I would say that you know, I was really excited to have her move here and sort of commiserate in those ways with her.
Have you had an opportunity to witness her with her children?
Yes, many times.
And how would you describe her relationship or her interactions with her children?
They are wonderful. She's a wonderful mom. I've mostly seen her interact with Birdie. And I would say Birdie is obviously younger than the other children. And when I was getting to know Birdie and see her, she would get a little bit shy at first, especially like up in the office space. But then, you know, with Aishwarya being close by and us, you know, being up there and being moms and friendly, she would warm up, and it was always just like a very amicable experience.
Did you ever care for Birdie or have Birdie in your home?
Yes, I have. I would say probably I could count on one hand having her over here. Maybe 3 or 4 times. I've helped in the past pick her up from school, or Aishwarya has dropped her off over here so that she could work.
And how did Birdie adjust to you picking her up from school? What was her affect when you picked her up?
She was great. I mean, I've done it twice. She was excited to come with me, got her stuff ready, and I will say my house is very close to the school. So it was just a really quick commute, like not even a full minute. And she is when she's over here with me and my daughter, my 8-year-old, who loves to play with her, she's always very shy, but she always wants to do everything that we suggest, like coloring or Legos or having a snack. But she keeps very shy. She smiles, and I can tell that she's having a good time. But she, she just sort of keeps to herself, and we love having her over here, and she always wants to come back. So that's a good thing.
What have you witnessed, or how does she react when her mother comes to get her?
When Aishwarya comes to pick her up, it's then you see sort of this like change happen, and she immediately lights up and finds her voice and starts talking and is excited, and she sort of like gloms onto her, and it's actually really really cute. And and I always tell Aishwarya this, like, well, she just, all of a sudden started talking. And for me, I am a mom. That is how my daughter has been in certain situations. And to me, it just means that I am her person, her safe person. And I, when I see that, that's what comes to mind.
Meaning that what you see between Aishwarya and Birdie is like what you experience between yourself and your daughter, correct?
Yeah.
That
Just,
you are your daughter's safe person.
Yeah, that she can, finally either share that she's still hungry, or just, complain about something, but always, just, I guess going back to Aishwarya and Birdie, like, Birdie is just like then glued to her the rest of the time they're here.
When we spoke earlier, you described when Aishwarya comes to pick up Birdie, you described it's like Christmas. Do you recall that?
Yes, it is. Yes.
What did you mean by that?
Well, she lights up. She, when we're here and we're, she doesn't come over here very often. So she's always happy to come over here, and I have different art projects or toys and snacks and things like that. But again, when Aishwarya comes to pick her up, she's just so excited to see her, and runs over to her immediately. And I'll usually offer some tea or coffee, and Aishwarya will sit down at my kitchen counter, and Birdie just climbs up and sits with her. And while we chat. So, but yeah, all of a sudden starts finding her voice and talking and blah, just like Christmas morning.
Have you had any interaction with Leo Llewellyn?
I have. I first met him, I think it was 2 summers ago. His parents were both needed. They were in a situation, they were like, can you give him a lift back home? And I picked him up at the office space, and I just drove him home. It was probably a 10-minute car ride. And I had not met him up until that point. And he was awesome. And we just chatted about, he had just moved to Leland and his summer and how that was going. I've run into him other times since then, of course. I've seen him up in the office space a few times. And then most recently at our little local grocery store, I saw him. He had just finished school, and he grabbed a snack, and I knew that his mom was still at work. And when I ran into him, I just said, hi, Leo, and he knows who I am. And I was like, I'm still working in the loft. Do you want to come up there with me and hang out until your mom's back from work? And he was great. And he was like, of course. So he scooted up there with me.
You live in Leland, correct?
I do, yeah.
And you have children, which we have already specified.
Mhm.
What is your opinion of the Leland community for raising children? What do you believe, or what do you think about it?
I think it's wonderful. It's very safe here. Everybody knows everybody. And everybody looks out for everyone. I live in the village, right by the school and right by all these other homes. And I feel very comfortable letting my children run over to play with friends in, a couple blocks away, or my parents live a few blocks away. I'm comfortable with them riding their bikes or walking over to my parents' home by themselves. My son goes to the grocery store and the post office by himself. And I always feel as if something were to happen to one of them or whatnot, that someone's always around and knows who they are. And to me, it was important when we were moving back to the United States from living abroad that we did not go back to California for that reason. It didn't feel as community centered and safe and like a place that I felt financially comfortable as well. So
Do you interact, you share a space with Aishwarya with regard to when she's working and when you're working, correct? Do you communicate with her about her business and her job?
Yeah, I do.
And would you say that she's a hard worker?
Yes, I would.
And despite being a hard worker, do you have any concerns about her being able to properly care for the kids?
No, and I think that's why she works hard, is she wants to provide for them, and she has the job that she has so that she can have the flexibility to care for her kids. There's a lot of different things that you could do here, and I think what she's doing is with her kids in mind. I'm a creative person, and I have a similar setup because of that.
And what do you mean by similar setup?
Meaning I don't have to be in an office from 9 to 5. If I need to run out and take them somewhere or pick them up early or not work one day or bring them with me to work or just have that flexibility to sort of run the show. I'm a contractor is really, I work for myself. So that's important to me. And I can see that that's, again, the way that she set up her business, that she has that in mind. She needs to have that flexibility.
Did you interact with her over the fall of 2022?
Yes.
And when you interacted with her, you saw her where in the office?
Yes, I
And would
did.
you also see her socially?
I do see her socially. Yes.
What was her affect like this fall?
She was very, she was distraught. Mr. Kids, was early on was, feeling really good about it. And then she really missed her kids and felt, she, as every mom does when they're not right next to you for a period of time, just worried. how they were doing and not being there to help and comfort them, for sure.
Did she ever express to you any concerns about money?
Yeah, she did. She, again, I know she works for herself, and that is always, a day by day thing. Sometimes some stuff can fall through. And she has a home that she wants to fix up again to make it wonderful for her and her family, which is expensive. And her kids at the time were far away, and she wanted to make sure she could go and see them as often as she could. It's also expensive being in California.
How would you compare the cost of living in California to the cost of living in Leland?
California is, in my opinion, a lot. I mean, it's a lot more expensive. For me, if I were to do some like side by side comparisons, my children would absolutely be in private schools out west if we were living there. And those schools.
Why is that?
We lived in San Francisco in the city. And we intended on moving back to the city, a place that we knew and were comfortable with. And that was the goal. That was the goal before we left, was to stay and put our kids to school there. It just doesn't compare to the public school system in the city, and the private schools had the opportunities and options that we wanted for our children. And it's in the up, over $50,000 a year to send kids to private schools there. But on top of that, I mean, that's just one thing. Like, cost of living is triple, gas. You have to have a car, and food was expensive, and yeah, just taking them to do opportunities like we love to snow ski and driving to Lake Tahoe and doing things like that, and lift ticket. I mean, it thinking about those things there versus here, it's night and day to me, in my opinion.
What do you believe is the positive, or what are the most positive things about raising children in Leland?
Aside from what I've said about it feeling very safe, I also, my kids, before living here, I mean, Switzerland definitely had some seasons, but it's very prominent here. I like that there are 4 seasons, and they feel that change and they go through that. It's now winter and we ski or play in the snow, and it is now, summer, and we go and swim in the lake, and we have this incredible nature right here to play with. Not that it didn't exist in California. It's just, to me, it's just way more accessible. Again, they can go and see friends very easily and ride their bikes everywhere and engage outside in all of these different ways that it was not comfortable or safe or easy in California.
Did you have any opportunity to witness Ms. Nucala's, did she ever express to you worry about her son Leo and her 2 daughters over the fall?
Yeah, she did. She was, I think, mostly concerned about Leo. I would say he was the one that she worried about more than anyone else. And I think it was because she would see emails from his school and, in talking to him, and she could just tell that he was unhappy. I think the school, he was not doing homework and he was failing some classes, and just sort of those red flags just made her, very, very worried about him and unhappy. And then I would say she was also very concerned about Birdie, just in her age and all of this change that she's had to endure at a young age of moving again, and being put in all of these different schools. It was really hard for her to sort of take all that on as a little person. And yeah.
And just to clarify, you've interacted with Birdie. When was the last time that you interacted with her?
I would say she was over here. I would say a couple months ago. Again, Aishwarya had a work meeting, and I was available to help her out.
And did she seem happy?
Yes, she did.
And the last time you interacted with Leo, did he seem happy?
Yes. And that's when I ran into him on the street with his snack. Yeah, he was great.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Ms. Belden?
Yeah. Good morning, Amanda. I don't know if you remember me.
Thank you.
Hi. We've interacted socially.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Small world, right?
Yeah, it is small
Southern
town.
Michigan. Yeah.
Yes.
So I just wanted to go over a few things with you based on your testimony. And so how long have you shared an office with Aishwarya?
I would say a little over 2 years.
Okay. So pretty much probably close to when the Aishwarya and Andrew and their family moved to Leland.
Yeah. And that's when the woman that I work for who runs the lease, that's when she acquired the space as well. So it was all at the same time. So
Okay.
it's been the whole time. Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen Aishwarya, or have you seen Andrew Llewellyn interact with his children?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on his interactions with his children?
I've seen him interact with his children here in the office. And it's been it's mostly been with Birdie.
Okay.
And he's, very capable and kind, of course. I would say the only other time that I recall like having seen him interact with the kids for like a longer period of time was at Birdie's birthday party last year, which is almost a year ago. And it was great. And all of his kids were there, and everybody was great.
Okay. So you said, what you've seen with Andrew is he's always very kind. And is he engaged with his children?
Yes. And I apologize because it's been a while. But yes, I mean, it's always the times that I recall seeing this is always just been in the office. And it's again with Birdie, and just she coming from after school and just having like it's a transitional moment. So yeah, just having her come up to the office and be with him while he finishes up or whatnot. But Yeah. It's-
Okay. Do you remember a birthday party in October of 2021 when Andrew had Bertie at a child's birthday party, and I believe you were there with?
Yes.
Okay, and do you remember him interacting with Bertie that time, and what were do you have any thoughts on how the interaction was?
I do. That was at a friend's house. It was outside. I think I remember it's one of those seasonal changes. And so I can't I can't remember this all exactly. I think that she was having a great time. And the other kids were there. I do remember that. And I believe Bertie might not have like felt good. And Andrew was definitely caring for her and helping her feel better. But it was at the same time, there was a lot going on and in
Okay,
terms of like an arts and craft and whatnot. And so there was a little bit of like overstimulation. So, but yeah, I mean, he was definitely present and helping her.
okay. You indicated that you interact with Aishwarya socially,
Mm-hmm.
and do you interact with Andrew socially?
I have in the past. Yeah.
Does Aishwarya like to kind of party in town? Does she like to go have her drinks?
Yeah. I mean, when I have been with her in social situations, yes.
Okay,
She and I both will have drinks. Yes.
have you ever seen her drunk?
Yes.
Okay, like really drunk?
I guess define really drunk.
Maybe making poor decisions?
I have never
As-
seen her make
Oh,
poor
go ahead,
decisions.
Ron.
I'm sorry, it cut off a little bit.
I withdrew the question.
Okay.
Okay, are you aware of Aishwarya had an affair?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know when that started?
I did not know anything about it until fairly recently. So
Okay,
I feel very uncomfortable talking about it, mostly because I don't know who this guy is either.
Okay.
And I did not know anything about it until recently.
Okay, did she say anything to you about a timeline, like is just the last couple of months or?
Yeah, she did. She shared some stuff with me for sure. And again, like I did not know what was going on when it was going on.
Okay,
So yeah, she did talk to me about it though. Yes.
okay. Did you see Andrew last summer in downtown Leland for 4th of July? And he was with the kids?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
4th
Okay.
of July, so crazy.
I know. Well, we're getting close again.
I know. I
I can jog your memory. Maybe he was helping Bertie decorate bikes at the old art building.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Have you been in the party's Lake Leelanau home?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, have you been to their home?
Yes.
Lake
Yes, I
Leelanau?
have.
Okay.
Yes.
How far is it from downtown Leland?
In a car, I would say it's, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes away.
Okay. When were you in their house last?
Um, I was there, I was feeding the cat. And it was when Aishwarya was gone in California to see the kids. So
Okay,
I would say it was last fall.
okay.
Mhm.
What did the house look like?
It was the area where I was when I went in to feed the cat was the kitchen, which looked untouched since the last time I had been there, which is when they were in the midst of tearing it apart to fix it back up. So it was still very disheveled in that way. But no one was yeah, I mean, I don't recall it being that much different from the last time that I had been there.
And when had been the previous time you had been there?
It had been longer ago than that. So I would say much earlier in the summer, I was over there.
Okay. What's your opinion if you were living in that home? Would you be happy? Would you be satisfied with the home's condition? Do you feel like you could live in that?
I no, I don't, but at the same time, I don't. So
Okay.
I think that when they acquired the home and they were in the throes of fixing it up, everything that they started doing is exactly what I would have done. Now, given a similar situation, my parents recently redid their kitchen and they lived through it. They did not move out of their home. They decided to live there while it was being done. And it had a similar vibe of like studs and stuff exposed that no one wants to see while that's going on, but they did it to save money and sanity. They didn't want to like move all their stuff out. I don't know what their family plan was when they started work on their home.
Okay.
But
Would you feel comfortable having your kids live in that home right now with the way you recall it?
I currently, no, I would not.
Do you feel like it wouldn't be safe?
I don't think it would be safe. Yeah.
Okay. Do do you recall an incident in, I think it was July of 22, where you were out to dinner at the Riverside with your husband, Todd,
Mhm.
your cousin, and Tyler? And was Aishwarya there with you?
Yes.
And was Andrew home watching the kids?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember Andrew coming to pick up Aishwarya that night?
I do.
And do you know why he came to pick Aishwarya up?
Yes, because she was not able to drive home.
Okay. Was she drinking that night?
Yes.
Okay. And were you aware that she was on a lot of painkillers?
No, I
Okay.
wasn't.
Okay.
I've never, that's, I didn't know that
Okay. Okay.
new information.
If she were to have texted Andrew that she was on painkiller 5 that night and she needed a ride home, that's news to you.
I know that she texted Andrew to pick her up because she could not drive home. I could not drive her home. My husband could not drive her home.
You have the luxury of being able to walk home.
I can walk home.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I also offered for her to stay at my house too. I usually do when I have a friend with me that doesn't live in the village. I have
Okay.
places to stay. Yeah. But
So your children are now 11 and 8.
Mhm.
So they are at which school? Is Leland School like preschool through 12th grade all together, or are they different buildings?
The kids are all in the same building, but it is divided up into elementary. There's an elementary wing. And then there's a and forgive me because I'm not as familiar because I don't have upper school children yet. There's a middle school section and a high school section.
So both your children are in the elementary section.
Yes.
Okay. When does your son move to the middle school section?
He goes next year in the fall.
And is it your plan that he'll go there? Have you thought about other schools?
I have thought about other schools. But as of right now, he plans to go to school there.
Okay. Why have you considered other schools?
Nels definitely has some behavioral, social things, and Leland is small. And whereas my daughter thrives there socially, sometimes I worry about my son and wanting to give him more opportunities to meet more kids, and as well as, just a different learning experience for him specifically. He's extremely creative, hands-on, loves things like science and robotics and stuff like that. Just wanting to, I'm always on the pulse with the school, and it's driven, and it's geared mostly towards my son, not my daughter. And
she's what? I'm sorry, your daughter right now is what grade?
She's in 2nd grade.
Okay. So is it fair to say you think that the middle school maybe is lacking in opportunities for your son that you want him to have?
I am now just starting to learn a lot about the middle school. There's more meetings coming up that I will attend about it, but the school definitely is, I think of all the things that the school is motivated to change, it's all been with the middle school. They separated 6th grade from the elementary. I believe before Leo and Josephine started there, this happened, and that was I in my opinion, like a really good decision. Middle school, from my experience, is just a tricky age, so I'm glad that they started it sooner. Again, it's small. Leland is a small school, so they are able to do that and sort of take that on.
How small is Leland? How small are the grades?
There's 500 kids over there total
for preschool through 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And yeah.
So how many kids are in Nell's classroom?
Nell's is a particularly small class versus others. For instance, the senior graduating class this year is 35, and my son's class is 28. And usually it thins out sort of as they get older. I would say an average middle school class of kids is about 45 kids.
Okay. Middle school is usually 48, but do you think graduating of 35 is typical?
Yeah.
I'm going to object as to lack of foundation in terms of her expertise to go ahead and opine as to Leland Public Schools total enrollment, typical class size, et cetera, and so forth. She's only lived here for a short period and only has elementary school children.
Okay. So 500 kids, your understanding is that the enrollment right now for preschool through 12th grade is 500 kids. Okay. And your your fifth grade son's class has 28 children in it.
Mhm.
And that's for the whole grade.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about your daughter, her second grade class? What's that size?
This is where it's trickier because first and second grade are together.
Okay.
And there are 3 classrooms and there are 3 teachers.
Okay.
So there's more kids. I would say there's 90 kids, 85.
Okay.
Mhm.
85 to 90 for first and second grade total. So that would be 40 to 45 kids. First grade, 40 to 45 kids, second grade. Would that be your guess?
Yes.
Okay. You said that you're aware that there's kind of an attrition as the kids get older at the school. Do you know why that is? Have you heard of people pulling their kids from the school and why they're not staying there through high school?
Yeah, there are parents that
Object as to hearsay.
Do you see your children graduating from Leland High School?
that's a good question.
I mean, I don't know if you're wanting me to respond to objections. People just keep skipping on. Are you just accepting that, Ms. Bell? I mean, she may have some knowledge. There was no statement.
Okay, go ahead.
She may observe this.
Yeah.
I don't know, but if you don't want her to answer it, that's up to you.
Okay, I'll stop and I'll allow you to.
Just because there's an
respond.
objection doesn't mean it's automatically sustained, but if you
Yeah.
concede it, that's how I view it. If you just move on.
Okay, no, I'm not gonna concede that. I'd like, if Amanda knows families that have left the school, I'd like to know their reasons why.
Well, that was different.
Object as to hearsay.
Yeah, that's a different.
Okay, I'm
question.
sorry. If Amanda has an opinion on the question, I would like to hear it. Do we have a record where we can repeat what I asked? Now I'm forgetting what I asked.
We can't really roll that back.
Okay, let me just move forward with my question.
I guess I understood it to be more of, have you observed something? It was open to whether she's observed it. But I don't know.
Okay, Amanda, have you observed people leaving the school?
yes, of course.
And do you have an opinion as to why they are leaving the school?
It's as the kids get older, as they go into middle school and high school, there are more opportunities in Traverse City. It's a bigger place. It's got a bigger public school. So I know that athletics has a lot to do with it, and opportunities for different languages. As a parent and as a child, or as a parent of a child who is about to enter all of that, I am very cautious about weighing all of those opportunities for him, for my son. And for me, I want him to have a really amazing social experience. On top of everything else. But Leland is small but mighty, and they have an incredibly amazing superintendent who I think is, even over the past 3 months, done some amazing work to bring the school further along in the place of exceptional education, and hearing parents and involving the teachers more in these decisions. Let's put it this way, like my kids would not be going to school over there if I didn't, if I didn't think that it was, you know, a good place to keep them. You know, we also live very close to the school, so their quality of life right now is awesome, and they are happy. They are happy over there. I think bottom line, my children are happy.
You, have you toured other schools?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Which schools have you toured?
Most recently, I toured Traverse City West Middle School,
Okay.
but I've been to Pathfinder and the Children's House as well.
Recently?
No.
Okay. When did you when did you tour TC West Middle?
In November of 22.
Okay. And when did you tour Pathfinder?
The summer of 20.
And the Children's House?
The summer of 19, I think.
And this is when
19 or 18.
okay. And this is when your kids were already students at Leland, correct?
Mhm.
So is
Yeah.
it safe to say you didn't just tour it just randomly? There was something on your head, there's something in your mind that made you wanted to?
Totally. I wanted to see what was out there
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. So you did tour TC West Middle School in just this past fall.
Mhm.
Was it on your radar for middle school for your
It was
son?
never on my radar. Nell sees an occupational therapist who has children who have recently graduated from high school at TC West High School.
Okay.
And she recommended that I go see, she more or less like strongly urged me to go see it.
And why was that? What was your understanding of why she wanted you to see it?
She wanted me to see it because of the size. Again, to give my kid more of the social scan of what is there. Yeah.
So you're undecided for sixth grade.
I am very much undecided.
Okay.
You know, I also, TC West is far away. So there's a commute factor there that I'm not thrilled about.
What
You know,
would the commute be?
it would be 40 minutes.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah. And when it gets winter time, that gets trickier with
Yeah.
the weather. But you know, you're also throwing a kid in a car for a long commute twice a day. And so there's that. That's like the number one. And then and then I worry that it's too big. Because it is. I think he would go from having, and again, I don't know this because I'm not, I don't know. This is me speculating, but there are like 200 kids. There would be 200 kids in his class versus 28.
Yeah.
And you know, just for the record, he does have friends now, and it's not about that. I guess it's just I want him to, you know, meet more kids and have more of social circles, because that to my son specifically, that's very important.
Okay. And you brought up robotics. Is there a robotics team at Leland?
So when I asked about this recently, because I have not seen anything about it since COVID happened,
Okay,
Before COVID, there was a very good, robust program at Leland.
okay,
And I know all of those players and people still exist over there.
okay.
And I asked about it recently at a meeting, and I know that it will come back and will resurface.
But currently there's no robotics program.
Currently, they're in the elementary, no.
Okay,
I am unsure about the middle school and high school.
okay. And then you brought up languages, that you know of people that have moved. Do they have language opportunities in the high school to learn another language?
Yes,
Which language?
Spanish is the one that's offered.
Okay,
The only one that's offered. Again, I don't know a lot about.
the high school.
I know that if the kids want to learn something else, there's a plan, but I am very uncomfortable I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you brought up athletics, a lot of families that have moved because of athletics.
I don't know a lot. Sorry.
Okay,
I know
okay.
a lot.
But I'm sorry, some families that have moved because of athletics. What is it? Are there just not the same opportunities?
Not the same opportunities, just not offered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
With-
for the record, we lost Ms. Nukala again. Ms. Whitman, what's your position on that?
I would like to wait for her to resurface.
Okay. Oh, I
She's
think
back.
she's coming.
Sorry.
Okay. So with the small classes, do they offer honors classes at Leland? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Are there multiple science classes, you can choose different sciences, or is it 11th grade honor science or regular science? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you know, do they offer AP classes?
Yes.
Okay.
I do know that. Yeah.
I
And they've added some. Again, I apologize because I'm not as robust, but I went to a meeting 3 weeks ago about the core. They're changing, the school is changing their math program. So they're ramping it up in a different way. And it affects my child, or it will when he starts 6th grade. Just in terms of what he takes first and how he moves along.
okay.
But the counselor who was there did say that they've added 2 more AP classes.
I'm gonna object as to hearsay.
Okay, that's fine.
She's
not-
not an expert in the Leland curriculum. And what she was talking about what the counselor told her.
And that's fine. I was just trying to get an understanding of what the opportunities were. I did have a question about are French classes offered at Leland?
Not that I know of.
Not that you're aware of. Okay. For example, right now, I can tell you that Josephine is taking sports writing and media. Do you think that's offered at Leland?
I don't know.
Okay. Or I'm sorry, this is for next year's curriculum. Is band at Leland?
No.
No band, okay. And obviously no religion classes.
No. I don't believe so. Again, I don't know. In terms of the Sixth grade and up. I don't know. There's definitely no religion in the lower.
So you said the last time you saw Birdie was about 2 months ago. That's correct?
Mhm.
So that would have been, it's beginning of April, sometime in February.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
It's definitely since she has been. It was before she started at Sutton's Bay with her new teacher. It was
Okay.
like right before this.
and
So
and if I told you she started with the new teacher in January, so you think it was January?
yes.
Okay, okay. So you saw Birdie in January, you haven't seen her since then?
I have seen her since then
Okay,
in the office.
okay.
Mhm.
When did you see her in the office?
I would say like 3 weeks ago.
Okay. How often does she come into the office?
I am not in the office very often.
Okay.
I am in the loft 2 days a week. So, she is not there very often.
Okay,
And that's from what
I'm gonna object on lack of foundation. She's just testified she's only there 2 days a week. How would she
But-
know whether or not she's there other days?
but on days that you're there, she hasn't.
Yeah, I
been.
assume she meant when she's there.
That's what I thought too. Yeah,
no, she's not, no.
okay.
And no, but she's, yeah.
So you've watched Birdie once since she returned from California?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I know you gave a lot of testimony about your experience with California and Michigan. You stated that you lived in downtown San Francisco, correct?
Mhm. Yeah,
And you understand that the Llewellyns were in Pasadena, California?
yes, yeah,
Okay. You know, that's quite a distance, correct?
very different, yes.
Very different.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and would you say that they're very different communities?
They are different communities. I have been to Pasadena once.
Yeah,
I don't know it as well.
okay. How
So
far apart is San Francisco and Pasadena?
I would say probably
6?
5-6 hours.
Yeah, I would say 6. So, okay, we're in the same ballpark. Okay, so you don't have a familiarity with Pasadena to be able to say what their school system is like?
No,
To say what their sense of community is like?
I am not, no.
No, okay. Even their cost of living for that matter.
Cost of living is something that, again, that Aishwarya and I sort of commiserated on when we were meeting each other, and getting to know each other. And
So the only impression on cost of living in Pasadena you have is really from what Aishwarya shared with you. Okay.
from what she shared with me, but also just my general knowledge of California, being someone who was there for a really long time.
So you testified earlier that that Aishwarya expressed to you worry about Birdie because she had been moving all these schools.
Mhm.
So tell me how many schools has Ashwarya or has Birdie been at that you're aware of?
I'm aware that she was at the Leelanau Children's Center,
Okay,
and I'm aware that she was at a new school in Pasadena beginning in the fall of 22. I
okay.
don't know the name of the school or what that was.
Yeah,
And then now she's here and going to Sutton's Bay.
okay.
And this teacher who she is with in Sutton's Bay used to be at the Children's Center.
Oh, we lost Ashwarya again. I'm sorry. Well, here she comes. Okay. Okay, you're back. Okay. Okay, so at the time that she moved to Pasadena, you're aware that she was at one school, that Pasadena, the second school that she had attended.
Mhm.
And then when she moved back, she did not return to the school she had been at previously.
No.
Okay. When you saw Birdie in January, she seemed happy to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. She was,
When did you first see Leo once he returned from Pasadena?
I mean, I would say I saw him in passing. I'm trying to think.
I know.
And that was, I saw him in passing. So just like out with some friends. And
How did he appear to you when you saw him in passing?
he seemed great. I mean,
Okay,
he was just walking. And then when I interacted with him, when I was telling you before, when he had his after school groceries and whatnot, he was great.
good. And when was that when you were actually able to talk to him?
That was like end of February, March, I believe.
Okay. And have you seen Josephine since she moved out to
I have
Pasadena?
not. I
Okay,
have not seen her at all.
okay, so she's there, right? She's in Leland, or she's in Lake Leelanau right now, but you haven't seen her.
I have
Okay.
not seen her. Yeah.
And your understanding that Leo was struggling in school is just from Ashwarya telling you this?
Mhm.
You raised the positives you have with having the kids in northern Michigan being the Four Seasons. Safety. Do you know if Pasadena's safe?
I do not.
Okay. And the accessibility to nature. Do you know if there's accessibility to nature in Pasadena?
I do not.
Okay, okay. When Ashwarya is out with you, having a social time drinking, do you know who's caring for the kids?
I'm going to object based upon lack of foundation. When did this generate?
So
Generally
let's,
ever?
back in July of 2022, when you were at Riverside, with Ashwarya, who was taking care of the kids?
Andrew was.
Okay.
I believe again, I believe.
Okay.
That was my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And can you recall another time when you were just with Ashwarya? And you knew did you know where the kids were or who was taking care of them when you were out alone with Ashwarya? Do you have any recollection of other times when she's been by herself out and who's caring for, has she shared who's caring for the kids, or did you know where the kids were?
We lost Ms. Ducala again.
Okay, well, wait a minute.
Your Honor, is someone in the waiting room?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I can try and move during the break. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'm sorry, my question was, on other times when you have been out socially with Aishwarya by herself, without the kids, have you been aware of where her kids are, who's taking care of them, or no?
Sure. I have not. I would say when I was last out with her, or the last like few times that I have been out with just her, it's just been her and me.
Okay,
Her kids were in California, so
okay,
it was that. And then the other times I don't know. That was never brought up. I guess
Okay.
if I were to assume, it would be Josephine was
I'm going to object as to
that's fine. If
speculation.
you don't know, you don't know. So the last time you were out socially with Aishwarya was really in the fall when all the kids were in Pasadena. Okay. Question. Have you ever witnessed a disagreement between Aishwarya and Andrew?
I mean, yes, but it hasn't been a thing, like
Okay.
maybe in the loft of a exchange of scheduling or whatnot, but never anything that's been,
It wasn't memorable to you.
no.
Okay. So you don't remember screaming or threats being
No.
made to one another? Okay.
No.
But you've seen normal disagreements
Yeah.
and you felt that
Or
both-
just exchanges of life. Yeah.
okay. I have no further questions.
Any follow-up, Ms. Whitman?
Briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Johnson, just to clarify, is it your opinion that the overall cost of living in California is higher than the overall cost of living in Leland, Michigan?
Yeah. It's why we live here.
And
One
Your-
of the reasons.
your children both go to Leland Public School, correct?
Mhm.
So you may have investigated other schools, but your children remain there, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever drank too much to the point where you asked somebody to come and pick you up or drive you home?
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Did you believe that that was a responsible thing to do, to call for a ride?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think Aishwarya has a drinking problem or an alcohol addiction?
No, I do not.
I have no further questions.
Final questions, Ms. Belden?
I don't.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can we take a 2-minute break?
Yeah, we can take a 5-minute break and that,
Okay.
but you have Megan Murtaugh Graber in the waiting room.